There are times when it is important to be warm and modest. However, not everyone is viewed favorably when acting as such. In particular, men may face social repercussions for acting modestly. Today, we'll be discussing this phenomenon with Professor Jerry Thompson, who is an expert on issues related to gender bias. I like warm and modest people.
Why might men be disliked for acting modest?
Well, because people have stereotypes or general beliefs about how men should behave. Men are expected to act assertively, aggressively, and be self-promoting. We assume men will be real go-getters. These stereotypes also dictate the way men should not behave. We do not expect men to be modest, insecure, indecisive, or weak.
Why do these expectations matter?
They matter because we don't like it when people violate our expectations. When men act modestly, they experience backlash or social penalty for not acting in line with their stereotype.
But does this social penalty or backlash really hurt men? I mean, I never thought about men facing a lot of hardships.
This is why it's important that we discuss and acknowledge that gender stereotypes and expectations can negatively influence men as well as women.
Can you give me an example of when the beliefs about how men should behave hurt men?
Yes. In one experiment that explored this question, participants watched video interviews of a female and male applicant for a computer lab manager position. The description of the position was gender neutral. For this position, it was important to have technical and social skills.
And participants were watching real job interviews?
Actually, no. Although participants thought they were watching interviews with real job candidates, in reality, they were watching actors pretending to be on an interview. Now, importantly, the actors playing the male and female applicants gave the exact same answers to the interview questions. They also displayed similar nonverbal behaviors such as smiling and eye gaze. Now, this meant that the candidates were the same on all important characteristics, and the only difference between the two was their gender.
How did these candidates act? And what sort of responses did they give?
The responses the female and male candidates gave to the interview questions made them appear modest. Now, this modesty went against the expectations for the way men should behave. So, half the participants saw the video of the female applicant, and the other half saw the video of the male applicant.
Then what?
After watching the video, participants rated the applicants on how competent, likable, and hireable they were.
Anything else?
The participants also rated the candidates on various important traits. There were traits associated with the way a man should behave. These traits include strong, ambitious, and competent. Now, there were also traits that reflected the way a man should not behave. Now, these traits included weak, insecure, and spineless.
Well, as I said before, modest people seem likable to me. I mean, did being a modest man really end up mattering?
Yes. It was detrimental for the male applicant to act modestly. The modest man was seen as being less strong and ambitious, and as more weak and insecure than the modest woman. Now remember, this is exactly how a man is not supposed to act. The modest male candidate went against expectations and was perceived as less stereotypically male than the female candidate.
And did this end up hurting the male candidate?
The researchers found that the modest man was less liked than the female applicant. Now, it is important to note that the male applicant was less liked because he was both seen as not assertive or failing to behave the way men should, and because he was perceived as weak or behaving in the ways men shouldn't. Now, furthermore, the more participants liked the applicant, the more likely participants were to hire the applicant.
And this was true for both the male and female raters?
Yes. Both male and female participants were influenced by these stereotypes and rated the man more harshly than the female.
So, stereotypes really can be detrimental for men as well.
Yes. These stereotypes dictate the way individuals should behave. If someone acts differently than the stereotype, she or he will experience backlash and be liked less.
I see. What are the implications of these findings?
Well, imagine that you are a modest man. You do not consider yourself a real go-getter, overly ambitious, or aggressive. Maybe you'd rather stay at home with the children, have your wife work. Now, in theory, there should be nothing wrong with this behavior. However, because of gender stereotypes, a man is liked less and experiences social repercussions for acting modestly.